So this is male plant and this is female plant in case of Vallisneria. Male plant has male flowers. When these male flowers get matured, they break from the plant and come to the surface of the water. When this flower come to the surface of water, anther appears like this. Female flower has a long stalk which is present in coiled form. So when female flower get matured, this stalk is pulled up to make the flower reach the surface of the water. When the male flower reaches the surface, it shows anthesis. That is, its anthers burst and they release pollen grains. These pollen grains are taken up by the female flower, stigma of the female flower, and therefore the pollination occurs with the help of water. So male inflorescence bearing male flowers. Female plant has female flower which has long stalk through which it can reach water level. Male flower breaks and reach water level surface, and there they will open up or show anthesis and appear in shape like this. When male flowers come in contact with the female flower, anther burst and pollen grains are trapped by the stigma of the female flower. After pollination, this stalk of the female flower will recoil. After pollination, stalk of the female flower will recoil and female flower is pulled inside. So it comes to surface only for pollination. So female flower come to the surface of the water only for pollination. In Joastra, the pollen grains are long. In Joastra, it also shows hydrophily, but it shows hypohydrophily. In Joastra, pollen grains are long and filamentous. Exine is absent, which makes pollen grain flexible. Exine is made up of sporopollenin and it provides rigidity to the pollen grain. In case of Joastra, it's very important, children, note it down, that in Joastra, exine is absent and pollen grain is flexible. They can coil. Stigma is long and sticky. This is stigma, this is long and sticky. So when pollen grain comes in contact with the stigma, it coils. See, this coiled portion is of the pollen grain. It coils over the stigma. When pollen grain come in contact with stigma, it will coil around the stigma under the water. Therefore, hypohydrophily. Water plants, the aquatic plants which are growing in water, they can show hydrophily. They can show pollination by air also. For example, Potomecton, it undergoes anemophily. Though it grows in water, but it shows anemophily. Lotus, that is Nilambo, Elisma, these plants grow in water, but they show insect pollination. They show entomophily. Now we will discuss entomophily, that is pollination done by the insects. See children, 80% pollination is performed by insect, and that insect is mainly bees. Major pollinator are honeybees. Entomophilous flowers are brightly colored. They are colorful flowers. Generally petals are colorful, as you all know. But in some cases, bracts are also colorful. These are exceptions. And these are only for competition, not for CBSE board exam. Bracts are colorful in bougainvillea. Leaves are colorful in euphorbia. And stamens are colorful in mimosa. That is touch me not. In insect pollinated flowers, around the pollen grain there is sticky covering, and that covering is called pollen kit. This pollen kit or sticky covering helps to stick the pollen grain to the insect legs. In bees, there is pollen basket for collection of pollen grain to promote entomophily. See, to sustain the visit of insects to the flower for pollination, flower has to pay some reward, some fees to the insect. That fees, that reward can be in the form of nectar, that can be in the form of some edible pollen grains, or that can be in the form of safe place for laying eggs. So reward or fees in return of pollination can be paid in the form of edible pollen grains, nectar, or safe place for egg laying. Edible pollen grains are present in the plant Rosa, Papaver, Magnolia, Clematis. Nectar is produced generally by all insect pollinated flowers. Safe place for egg laying is provided by Amorphophallus. Amorphophallus is the tallest and longest flower. Height of the flower is about 6 feet, and in this pollination is done by beetles. Now, there are some pollen robbers or nectar robbers which take pollen grains or suck nectar from the flower but do not perform pollination. Such insects are called pollen robbers or nectar robbers. Pollen robbers or nectar robbers are insects which take these rewards but do not perform pollination. Example, Bombus affinis steals nectar from Aquilegia but do not perform any pollination. Next is ornithophyly. Ornithophyly is pollination done by the birds. Birds involved in pollination are generally of small size. See, hummingbird, sunbird, all these birds are small in size and they are involved in pollination and have long beak, pointed long beak. Ornithophilous flowers are found in agave, bombex, that is red silk cotton tree, callistemon, bottlebrush, erythrema, lobelia. Chiropterophyly, that is bat pollination. In bat pollinated flowers are large size and they produce large amount of nectar. They produce fermenting or fruiting odor. Example, Adansonia, Kigelia, Anthocephalus. These are chiropterophilous plants. Next is Melacophyly. Melacophyly means pollination by snails. It occurs in Lemna ericema. Snake pollination, that is pollination by snakes, Ophiophyly. It occurs in Santalum, Chandan. Thank you, children.